Well, Anna, 10 hours after polls closed, we've got most of the mayors, we've got the by-election result. We really haven't had many councils, but what that means is that we've got some sense of where this is going. And this is an important night because of the firsts. And we're going to have a look at some of those. The first by-election of this parliament, and it's a win for Reform, a party that barely scratched the surface in the general election in this seat, now taking the seat by a majority of 6, the slimmest of margins. Let's go straight over here to look at what changed in order to give Reform that advantage. You can see the Reform vote going up 20 percentage points. Labour, really the biggest victims today. They're down 14%. The Conservatives down 8 as well. This, and we're going to see a lot of this pattern over the next 24 hours, I think, is really the story of the election. Labour down, in fact, more than the Tories at the hands of Reform. And I think that's a big deal. The narrowest of margins. But also, this is another critical point. This is a Labour area. This is a 49th safest seat for the Labour Party until the early hours of this morning. Now Reform is getting close to 40% of the vote in areas like this. This is why I think you'll hear talk about British politics changing and changing in a way that will make life harder for the two main parties. Look at this. Look at just historically, since the Second World War, just how slim that margin is. 6 votes. You have to go back to 1973 before there was anything even remotely that slim, 57 votes. And this also, if we look at it, you can see how much better Reform is doing now than in the last parliament. The highest it ever got in the last parliament was just under 17% of the vote. Now it's winning elections with almost 40% of the vote. Things are changing, and voters that we didn't think might be appealed by Reform UK are, and that's important. Now let's look at this. This is what's going on in the mayoral races. So far, we've got 3 mayoralties that have gone to Labour and 1 also to Reform UK. You just heard from her talking to Serena. That's Andrea Jenkyns. And again, look at this percentage. She's getting 42% of the vote. This race, however, is a bit different. This was a fight against the Conservatives, a pretty much straight fight between those two parties. This shows that Reform UK can still do what it did during the general election and fight and win against the Tory party. So problems for them as well. And then look at this. What you've got is the impact. Here are the results for the 3 mayoralties that Labour actually managed to hang on to. So Labour won. Fair enough. A win's a win, as I'm sure cabinet ministers will be telling us all day long. But look at this. In all 3 of them, who comes second? But it's Reform. And it's Reform really running the Labour Party very, very close. Again, this is the Labour Party now facing a challenge that they didn't really have to think about in the general election, but now Reform poses a challenge to them. We almost have no council results yet. There's only 1 council that's counted. And again, you can see 23 seats going to Reform at the expense of Tories and Labour. Labour actually slightly worse off. That's the picture now. I think the Tories will find it harder over the coming hours. So stick with Sky News.